What's up, drone pilots? It's Wayne Stevenson here. In this video here, I'm gonna teach you guys how to set up GPS modules. I got a few for you to try out. Let's see. Here we are. I got a U-blox Neo-6M we're gonna do. I got a BN-220. This one here is a GN801. Anyhow, it's Hey guys, Wayne Stevenson here. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to set up a GPS module with Betaflight. In today's setup, I've got my test bench here. This is a USB-C SMT32 F411 development board that I use. I flashed Betaflight onto here to use as my test bench. In a future video, I'm going to tell you exactly which module to get and how to flash Betaflight onto here. It's very simple. I'm not going to do that in this video. It'll be a later date. If you're interested in which module it is, just ask me in the comments down below, and at a later time I'll whip out my magnifying glass and read the chip details or check my purchase history so I can tell you exactly what you want so that you can be ready for when I show you guys how to do that with these development boards. Anyhow, moving on, I've got 3 different GPS modules I'm gonna hook up here and show you guys. I've got a Ublox Neo-6M GPS module. I've got your Beitian BN-220 GPS. This one's very common. Most people out there are using this exact model, the 220. There's, I think, the 820's got a magnetometer, a compass built in on that one. It's an I2C connection. I'm not going to cover that. I'm just covering strictly GPS today. I've got this TOPGNSS GLONASS receiver here. One thing that is common amongst them all is that, well, I'm going to step back for a second here. First off, what a GPS module is it's a GPS receiver. It receives GPS signals from the sky and it determines a location with software, and it takes that location information and it turns it into serial information in plain in text so that it can output it, so that a program can use that to determine your location. So this will spit out your latitude, longitude, altitude, that sort of thing, how many satellites it's connected to, which ones. It'll spit that information out, and something like your computer or Betaflight flight controller can use that information to determine its location. They all have, I'm going to break this, I'm flexing the crap out of that by holding it. They all have power. They all have ground. That's something that is common amongst them all. Usually they'll work between 3 volts and 5 volts. If you got a heavily taxed system, you might not have enough current to operate it, so you might need something like a UBEC, BEC, a separate power. But in most cases, your flight controller should be able to power it and the rest of the components on there. In the case it doesn't, grab yourself a BEC. As well, test benching via USB. If you have a lot of stuff on your flight controller connected that is powering, you might not have enough current, so you might need to plug in your LiPo battery for extra current to power it while you're connected to your test bench. They'll all have some sort of light indicator on it. I think the U-blox, now this one I don't know, but my other ones I've had, you won't get any light whatsoever showing power. The only light that comes on is once you have a satellite fix. The other ones will have a power light that indicates that they're getting power, and then it'll have a separate flashing indicator that shows that it has a satellite GPS fix. Now, so we've covered power. You've got your 5 volts, you got your ground. Usually you can power them 3 to 5 volts, 5.5 volts. They'll also have your serial communication wiring. So you'll have an RX line and a TX line. Now, the TX line on here is what sends the information to your flight controller. So you're going to want to connect the TX, the transmit line on this, to the RX, the receiving line on your flight controller. So in this case, I've got it pinned to the UART serial communicator on this flight controller board. Now with that said, the other line is for configuration. You can actually plug this in and use software like U-blox, U-center, and configure the GPS protocol, because there's a few of them, as well as configuring your baud rate. So I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to show you that. If you want to learn more about that one, there are tutorials out there on the internet. However, if you'd like me to do a tutorial, leave comments down below and I'll do a tutorial for you guys. I'll show you guys how to configure your modules in your computer. You will need another thing like that, a serial adapter. I've got this USB one here I use for my sim work. This is a USB serial adapter, and it can communicate serial information back and forth to one of these modules, as well as other modules too. So it's always good to have a few of these kicking around. They're cheap, a couple dollars. I use it for sim work, flying wirelessly with my transmitter. If you're interested in that, I've got a tutorial right there. Check that one out. That teaches you how you can set up your FlySky receiver and fly wirelessly. Probably works with other serial receivers as well. Anyhow, let's move on with GPS. So we've got the RX and TX taken care of. We're not going to use the RX line on that because we don't need to send information back to this. This is just going to be output only, so you can tape it, you can snip it. I don't recommend snipping it, just in case you ever need to or want to configure it. So you might want to just heat shrink that somewhere. You don't need to plug it in at all. Maybe one day there will be serial pass-through capabilities so that you can connect up to like U-center or something. Maybe there is already in Betaflight. I don't know. I've never actually looked into that. So forget I said that. Maybe I'll look into that sometime. Onward. Okay, so right now we don't have GPS set up. This is blinking right now because it has a GPS connection, but I'm gonna remove power so that we can worry about that later. So there. I've removed power off of that component right there. We're going to set up our flight controller for GPS. So under the ports tab, now just to clarify here in the ports tab, I only have one UART that I'm connecting to because this is my my test bench. Your flight controller is going to have more options to connect that transmission serial transmission line on your GPS module to your flight controller. So you can use like an RX3, RX4, one of your UARTs that isn't in use. Now, some flight controller manufacturers make it easier for you, and they'll tell you specifically which one to use in their wiring diagram. So that takes the guesswork out of that. Just put that TX line to that RX that they show you for GPS, or it might even just be labeled GPS. And then from there, it's just a matter of wiring your 5-volt and ground from somewhere on your flight controller. Anyhow, back to our configuration screen. We're going to go to the UART that we have GPS on, and we're going to set this to auto baud. And don't rely on that. It doesn't always work. I found some modules don't work with auto baud. So we're gonna go through this setup here. So once you've configured your port and restarted, as you can see there, it's autoed up to 57.6 for whatever reason. It's not even powered on, so it shouldn't be able to determine that. So that could be where the issue is for auto detection. It might not work properly. At any rate, let's not worry about that. We're going to go into our configuration screen. Now we're going to go down here to GPS, and we are going to enable that, just like that. Now this particular device uses the NMEA protocol. We're going to leave it on auto baud, auto configuration. We're going to save and reboot. And what's going to happen now that we've enabled GPS is we're going to get a GPS menu that we can look at right now. So as you can see, we're getting nothing. And up here there's a GPS icon, and we're getting nothing there either. Now the reason behind that is that signal isn't going to come on until it has a that icon isn't going to show up until you got a GPS signal. So I am going to power up the GPS device now. Oh, that's not good. Hold on. I'm going to reboot. Wrong one. It's not a big deal. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So I'm now going to power up the GPS module. And as you can see right here, we have a solid blinky light. And the reason behind that is we don't have a GPS connection. As you can see here now, once it gets a satellite ID, GPS comes on. Okay? And it's searching, it's searching. So it's got the lock. Got 2 satellites. Now that number is going to come up. I'm going to show you again. I'm going to disconnect the power to the GPS right now. Okay? No power. There's no GPS. That icon has disappeared in the corner. Power up again. Okay? So it's powering up. Solid light. Now once it starts seeing satellites, we'll get the GPS connection back. And there we go. Boom. So that's one way to troubleshoot what's going on. That light isn't going to, or the icon isn't going to come on until you got a GPS connection. All right. Now we don't have a 3D fix yet. Once we get a 3D fix, that can take a few minutes. Sometimes 2. It all depends on where your GPS is located. Indoors, it can be a pain. It can take forever to get a good fix. At any rate, that's it. We've got GPS enabled. I'm not going to show you what to do with it. There's enough tutorials out there. GPS 3D fix should be coming up soon. I'll leave that sit there. I'm going to have to grab some more connectors anyhow. there we go. We got the connection now. It's got a 3D fix. So that is set up, and now you can see it flashing. It's got a location. So I'm just going to, while that's doing that, I will get this wired up. Blue, red for our signal line, and orange for our voltage line. So this is going to be the same thing. This is our U-blox. So I am going to, as you see, it was solid, got a 3D fix. It's now flashing. That tells us it is good to go. So that's the GN801. Now let's move on to the U-blox here. I'm going to just disconnect the power. All right. That can go away. I'm going to reset the flight controller now to turn off GPS. Actually, turn off the GPS. And close that port off. Connect. Set that disable auto. Okay. So once again, we are going to set up our sensor input for auto detect GPS. Once that reboots, we can go into the configuration screen and enable GPS through here. NMEA protocol Autobot. We'll just set it up the way we did with the other one. And because this is a U-blox, it's probably not using the NMEA protocol. It's probably using the U-blox protocol. So you get to see what it'll look like if it's incompatible. So let's take our ground. There we go. Being very careful to make sure we're using the right one. We're going to take our signal, and now we are going to apply voltage, and there we go. So as you can see, there's no lights on this one right now. It is, however, giving us a GPS icon. Let's go to GPS here. Oh, that's quick. So got the icon because it's already seen satellites immediately, which is good. Not always the case. So now, like I said, this one doesn't give us a light until it gets a fix. So as you can see, that can take a few minutes for the first fix. After that, it's usually a lot quicker to get the 3D fix. So just keep that in mind. They've got these little batteries on here, which I think help store some of that information. I don't know how exactly they work, but that's that. So let's just see how long it takes for a 3D fix. And keep in mind, we're indoors here, and I have lots of problems always for years. They're getting better these days. Oh, there we go. So now we have a 3D fix, and we got a blinky blue light on this. So that didn't take long. That was under a minute. So, and this one is actually, we're using, pretty sure I haven't configured this any differently, but we were able to auto detect it. It's an NMEA protocol, so it's connected no problem. And our port was set to auto detect, and it went to 57.6. So that's the U-blox out of the way. Now let's go set up our the BN-220. Get that out of the way. We will disable GPS once again. Save and reboot. Alright. Disable that, set that to auto. Zoe! Okay, so we'll enable GPS, set it to auto. Now the funny thing with this one here, I was just setting this up actually to confirm the setup for someone on a Reddit forum post, trying to help them out. So that's actually why I'm doing this video now, because I figured why not go through the ones that I have here and note their differences. So again, for whatever reason, it always defaults to 57.6. I don't know why that is. I'm going to enable GPS. We're going to do the same thing. Leave it on MEA. Leave everything on auto. And I'm going to plug in the module now. So we're going to start by this one. The white was my signal line. So I'm going to plug that in. Plug the ground pin in. And let's go over to the GPS side of things here, and I'm going to give it voltage. Okay, we've got a blue light blinking. Nothing going on here. Not seeing anything. Now, I know from experience that I'm going to have to change the baud rate on this to 9600. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and because the auto detect didn't work. So we're going to do that. Connect. Got GPS. It's got a quick connection already. Boom. And that's it. So the main difference between this and the other ones is, for whatever reason, doing the auto detect and the baud rate doesn't work. You need to go back into the ports, manually select 9600. And if your experience with the 220 is different, I'd like to know about it. Maybe there's different firmware configurations out there. But at any rate, that's it. That's we've just covered 3 different ones right there. Now, using GPS, you can get the information. You can set fail-safe rescue to kind of bring it back home for you. There's other uses for GPS. We'll cover that in a different video. I don't use them myself. In fact, I don't have any 5 inches or any others other than my big 10 inches with GPS, and they're using iNav or homegrown multi-wee variations. So anyhow, hope this video helped you out. Most people don't get stuck on setting up the features of the GPS. Most people get stuck actually getting the GPS module working and showing up in Betaflight. So that's what this video is about. Hope that helped you out. If it did, give me a big thumbs up. Like and subscribe if you find my videos are helpful. I've got lots of good beginner material here at the channel here at FPV DroneWorks. Again, I'm Wayne Stevenson. Thanks for watching. Bye.